Well, cool. Well, thanks so much for being here. And like Laura said, I'm really glad that you guys have sacrificed. Do we have a question or? I'm really glad that you guys have sacrificed to be here and have been here this morning. Some of you might be wondering, like, why do we do this every summer? Or like, why are we doing this? Why are we here? Some of you who aren't here are probably wondering why we do this. That was a joke. It is funny if you think about it. You'll go back and think about it. So here's why we do this. I remember when I first got to the parish, Father Flynn had said that he was committed, and I'm actually borrowing something from Scott, because I think Scott was involved with this as well, with the Pastoral Council. The Pastoral Council and Father Flynn were committed to the parish having world-class catechesis. The parish committed, Scott's back there like thumbs up. The parish committed to having world-class catechesis. And we're here, we sacrifice this time and resources and energy and our weekend and all of this to come together once a year, at least once a year, to focus on what are we trying to accomplish as a parish, and what are we trying to accomplish through catechesis. And it's because, we sacrifice all this stuff because we're not willing to settle with mediocre catechesis or just mediocrity in general. We want the best. We want world-class catechesis. But there's really two components, or maybe two lies, you could say, that most parishes, and I think a lot of organizations, believe when it comes to trying to be world-class. Lots of organizations would love to be world-class. Businesses would love to be world-class. And there's, I think, two big lies, because there's two major components of any organization or any parish. And I think a lot of parishes fall prey to these two big myths. So like any parish or any organization basically has two things: people and resources. Resources and people. Like an organization, that's really, if you boil it all down, we can control the resources we have and the people we have. And we have resources and people. And so if we want to be a world-class organization, or if we want world-class catechesis, one of the lies that we can fall into, or the traps we can fall into, is thinking that if we just have world-class resources, then we'll be a world-class organization. And a lot of you know this isn't true, right? Like there are plenty of people that have world-class tools or world-class resources, but they're not necessarily world-class people, or they're just not equipped to use the world-class resources. But here's the lie, or here's the truth. The truth is, I'll say it in the positive, the truth is that world-class catechesis does not come from world-class resources. I'll say that again. World-class catechesis does not come from world-class resources. And a lot of us, I've fallen prey to this before in my life, where I've thought, if only I have the best resource, I'll be the best catechist. Or if only our parish had the best ministry program, our parish would be the best parish. If only our parish had the best resources designed by whatever, publication company, or really great saint, or really holy person, or really smart person, if only we had the best resources, world-class resources, we would be a world-class parish or a world-class catechist. And the truth is that world-class catechesis does not come from world-class resources. We have the best resources. I mean, we have all the best resources. This is just an aside. No longer do we have to wait as a Catholic Church to have good enough resources. We have the best. I'm just letting you know. Like, our video production is going way up. Not our parish. I'm talking about like across the Catholic Church. We have companies and organizations and people that are making the best resources for the cheapest price. And there are world-class resources out there. But like a lot of you guys probably know, the resource is only as good as the person using it, right? So sometimes the next trap we fall into, the first one is we say, well, if only our parish had world-class resources, then we'd be a world-class parish. And that's just not true. So the next trap we might fall into is we say, okay, well, if we had the best people, then we'd be a world-class organization or a world-class parish. And that's just not true. Because some of you know this. World-class people, or world-class catechesis, does not come from world-class people. Because we could have the best people. Like we could find all the best speakers in the world, the best catechists in the world, the best Catholic evangelists. We could find all the best priests. We could find all the smartest professors. And if we get them all in a room, I don't know if you've ever been in a room with a bunch of people who either think they're the best or they actually are the best. But very quickly, you find out that they're very good at disagreeing, right? Like exceptional people are exceptional at taking exception, right? Like, I take exception to that, right? You could gather all the world-class people together in one room, but world-class catechesis does not come from just world-class people. If we get world-class, and we have some really great people on our staff. We have an amazing priest. There are some really talented people in this room. And we don't want to settle for mediocre. We don't want to settle for anything less than world-class catechesis at our parish. But here's the reality. World-class catechesis does not come from world-class resources. And we have some of the best resources for you. And world-class catechesis doesn't come from world-class people. Some of you might be like, well, I don't even feel like I am world-class. Well, there's good news. We don't need world-class people. And we don't need world-class resources. There are places in the country right now that don't have the best resources. There are places in the country right now that don't have the best people. But God is bringing revival and is bringing something way different than mediocrity in those places. So how is he doing that, and why is he doing that? And what will take us to becoming world-class as a world-class parish? And not just like, I don't care about our parish comparing to other parishes. I just care about us fulfilling the commission that we've been given. And so what does world-class catechesis come from? World-class catechesis comes from world-class priority. World-class priority. World-class catechesis, and even our parish will be a world-class parish. Our parish will be the best parish in the world if we have the best priority in the world. And let me explain. So I heard this, you're going to have to Google search me on this, and fact check this. But I heard that the word priority, it comes from the Latin prior, which means like preceding, and we use it to mean like the most important, the most fundamental, the most priority. There's this story that the word priority used to not be plural until just in the last couple of decades. That the word priority, there used to be only, when you talked about a priority, there was a priority, the priority. There was just the priority. And I think that's really interesting. Like a lot of times when we try to have lots of priorities, we end up having no priorities. I don't know if you know this, but like in my job and in my personal life, if I try to have lots of this is the priority, or here are the 5 priorities, then I end up doing none of the priorities. And as a kid, I always wanted to know, what is the priority? What is the most important thing? And if we want to have world-class catechesis here, we have to have world-class priority. And what I mean by that is we have to have one singular vision and mission. One singular focus among all of us. And that is why I believe, and I kind of, every year I'm like, we need to come together and talk about what is the priority for us as catechists, what is the priority for us as a parish. And you know this, world-class organizations who have a singular focus on a world-class priority, they thrive, right? Apple had a world-class priority, and Steve Jobs would sacrifice everything for this one priority. Some of these nonprofits in the world, I think if you took some time and thought about people that are making a difference in the world or organizations that are making a difference in the world, they are relentless about a world-class priority, and they make it one priority, the priority for their entire organization, for their entire life, for their entire business. And we want to do that for our parish. We want to have one priority. And the one priority, it's kind of really nice because we don't have to make it up. We don't have to come up with a really interesting, unique priority. We don't have to come up with some really clever, banner. I do come up with some very clever banners, but that was a joke, you can laugh. But we already have a world-class priority. We already have a priority. It's our job just to focus in on that priority. Jesus said before he ascended into heaven, he said to the disciples, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations." And that is the mission of God. The mission of God is that we would be in heaven with him. And we start that relationship with God here on earth. So our priority is to go and make disciples. Our priority, our mission from God. God the Father sent his Son with the mission. The Son accomplished the plan here on earth. And the Father and the Son send the Holy Spirit to make that mission effective in the lives of the church, or in the lives of the people all over the world and the people in the church. And that mission is given a location, the world. And that world is split up into areas called dioceses. There's no square inch of the world that doesn't belong to one diocese. So we as a church split up the world and said, I got this part, you take that part. And so every diocese has a bishop who is entrusted with a single priority to make disciples of that diocese. Everyone in that diocese, not just the Catholics, everyone. And the bishop's like, These dioceses are pretty big. Our diocese is huge. They do everything bigger in Texas, even dioceses. Our diocese is huge, so Bishop Olson is in charge of that single priority, that gospel priority, the good news that we could go out and make disciples, the good news that we're invited to be in a relationship with God. That is the single mission, the single priority. That's the gospel priority for the church and for God and for our lives. And so the bishop is entrusted with that priority. The bishop has that gospel priority. But there are so many Catholics in Bishop Olson's diocese. So he establishes parishes. And the parish is not the building. Parish means a geographic location, a boundary. So there's a parish boundary that we have. And the bishop entrusts priests with the gospel priority. And the bishop says, Father Flynn, you're going to go to Grapevine, and your priority, the gospel priority, is to make disciples in Grapevine, Texas. And so Father Flynn looks around at his parish and is like, there's 2,500 people just at my church. There's how many thousands of people in Grapevine? I need help. I need help. All of us are entrusted with the same mission. And the mission comes from Father Flynn. We participate in the mission, but the mission even comes directly to us from Jesus. Every single one of us are called into this mission. Every single one of us is given the gospel priority for our own lives. So think about this. You're in charge of the parish of you. You're in charge of the evangelization of the parish of your life, of the boundaries of the diocese of your life. So even before you even participate in any church, Jesus already looks at you and says, I need you to make a disciple of you. I need you to help me with this mission in your life. That is the priority, the gospel priority. I have a slide, if someone could run over there. I have one slide. Real quick, I want to say, think about how many churches have other priorities besides that. There are other priorities sometimes that might even come to mind. Other really good priorities. One really good priority that people are thinking about and talking about at different parishes is mass attendance is dropping. Mass attendance is dropping. And so we need to get more people at Mass. And that's a good thing. That is a priority. But if we have more than one priority, we end up having no priorities. So what is the most important priority? That people would encounter the love of God and go to heaven. Can someone go to Mass and not know God? Yes. So if just getting people to Mass becomes our priority, we miss people going to heaven. But if we focus on people encountering the love of God, those people will go to Mass. Does that make sense? Other priorities are like, kids are just, when they go off to college, they just leave the faith because they don't know the faith. They don't know the faith. And Scott could probably tell you, we went through a season in America where we thought, the priority is that they just understand the faith. That's the priority. Good priority, really good priority. But can people understand can the devil quote scripture? Yes. Can people understand the faith and not believe in Jesus Christ? Yes. So the gospel priority makes all the other things happen. But if we focus on some of the other things, then we have no priorities. We lose track of the most important priority. Another priority is people aren't getting married, or people aren't baptizing their kids, or another one that I've been directly involved with a lot is my kid's just not getting confirmed. He doesn't want to get confirmed. And if just confirmation becomes our priority as a parish, we can lose the fact that we could confirm a lot of people that don't know Jesus. Sherry Waddell, in a book that we have in the back, Forming Intentional Disciples, she talks about the state of America and the statistics of the fastest growing religious affiliation in America is called nones, N-O-N-E-S, people that just say, I just don't believe anything. And if we keep doing church as normal, church as usual, we're going to keep getting the same results. And Sherry Waddell outlines in her book, Forming Intentional Disciples. Do you have the third slide up? This is the three spiritual journeys. She talks about this, and she talks a little, she doesn't say the gospel priority, but she's talking about this, she's getting at this, where she talks about there's 3 spiritual journeys that all of us embark on. The first one is, the first in the sense that it's the most prior, is our personal journey with Jesus Christ, where we are invited to a relationship with Him, we give ourselves to a personal relationship with Him, and we decide to start walking with Him intentionally. The second journey that a lot of us take is called the ecclesial journey. It's the journey we take where we enter the church. So if you came to the church because you were marrying someone who was Catholic, or if you came to the church because you wanted to be Catholic, there is a journey that you take. It's called the ecclesial journey. RCIA, the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. This journey that people take includes the sacraments of initiation, where you're baptized, confirmed, receive Jesus in the Eucharist. The third journey that comes after both of the first two, the third journey is the journey of active practice. The journey of active practice, so actively practicing your faith. This could be like going to Mass, or learning how to pray, or participating in social justice issues in the church, or giving of your gifts and talents in the church like you guys are doing. But what Sherry clearly identifies in this book when she talks about these three journeys is she asks the question, can someone receive all the sacraments of initiation and be very active in the church and not know Jesus? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And the answer is that more and more in America, we are living in a post-Christian nation. And that means that most people feel like they've already heard about Jesus and they don't want him in their lives. Most people feel like they understand what religion's kind of about and they don't want to have Jesus in their life. Or even worse, we've never talked to people about the first journey, a personal journey with Jesus Christ. We've never talked about that first journey. We're going to talk in a second about that personal journey and why it's so important, because I know when we talk about this, a lot of times people are like, this sounds super Protestant. Is this like a Catholic thing? Like personal, like Jesus and me, and like, what is this? Is this Catholic? It is so Catholic. It is like, it's super, it is just Christian. It's just Jesus. But here's one reason why, I mean, there's many reasons why I think we have this problem where we have lots of people coming to the church who just don't know it's even possible to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. One of the reasons why that I want to talk about that involves us is what I like to call our pastoral weakness. Our pastoral weakness. And this is something that I say kind of in jest, but the pastoral weakness is our tendency to wish the best of people. Our tendency to want to believe that someone else believes. And so a lot of times in our church, when Sherry Waddell talks about us not talking about this first path, this first journey, she says that we've created this culture of silence in our parishes, where it's like, don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask about someone's personal relationship with God, and don't tell anyone about your personal relationship with God. So all we focus on is whether or not you've received the sacraments and whether or not you're coming to Mass. And there are lots of people in our pews that don't know God and are just holding on to a practice. And they're missing the gospel priority. And I think one of the weaknesses we have, especially people who like the church or like love God and we want to be here, is when we hear someone else or when someone else comes to us, we want to believe that they believe. Like we really, any sign of faith, we want to say like, surely they know God. Like they're trying really hard to come to daily Mass, surely they know God. Or like they have their kids in CCD or in Catechesis, surely their family knows God. Like it's the pastoral heart. It's our weakness. It's our blind spot. Is when we're working with people, we want so badly to believe that they believe. And I think this is something that we have to just address head on. We have to break this culture of silence around a personal relationship with Jesus. We have to ask people, do you know Jesus? Do you have a relationship with him? Especially with children's catechesis. Because kids just don't know. Kids just go based on what they hear. The other thing is we have to tell people about a personal relationship with Jesus. We have to tell people about our personal relationship with Jesus. And what is the trap that a lot of us fall into? When people come to the church and they listen to what church is about, they hear the last two journeys. They hear us talk about coming to Mass. It's important to come to Mass. You should come to Mass. Or they hear us talk about the interior journey of RCIA, or the spiritual journey of RCIA. Like you need to get Catholic. To be Catholic, you should come to church and you'll get baptized. But they never hear about the priority, right? The fundamental spiritual journey. We don't talk about it at all. This is our gospel priority. The gospel priority is that everyone deserves a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. That is our gospel priority, that everyone deserves a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. We were praying about today and praying about this year, and the theme that kept coming up was this theme of encounter. Encounter. And that might sound really weird, like encounter with a person. But that is the gospel priority. So listen to this if you're like, man, what does this mean? Pope Benedict said, being Christian is not the result of an ethical choice or a lofty idea, but an encounter with an event, with a person, which gives life a new horizon and a new direction. A lot of parishes are just teaching religion. They're just teaching religion, like they're just teaching a subject. A lot of parishes aren't doing this. Pope Benedict said being Christian is not the result of an ethical idea or an ethical choice or a lofty idea, but it's an encounter with a person. It says in Scripture, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel," the good news, "for it is the power of salvation for everyone who has faith." It's a power of salvation for everyone who has faith. So you might think, well, lots of people have faith. They believe. What is faith? Pope Benedict goes on, "Faith is above all a personal, intimate encounter with Jesus, to experience his closeness, his friendship, his love. Only in this way does one learn to know him even more." And you might be thinking, well, that's a pope. Maybe I don't like Pope Benedict. He's talking about encounter and personal relationship. That sounds super Protestant. It says this, remember, I am not ashamed of the gospel. The gospel is a power of salvation for all who have faith. It says in the Catechism, it opens up the fourth pillar on prayer. It talks about faith. And it says, this faith that we believe in requires that the faithful believe it, that they celebrate it, that they live it, but finally that they live it all from a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's Catechism 2558. So here's kind of the marching orders, and this is from Pope Francis in his document we have in the back called Evangelization, the joy of the gospel. Again, the book, this church document, like when I read this, I was like, yes, like this is it. Our mission as a parish that we say over and over again is we want to build missionary disciples. We want to build disciples who are part of this mission. We want to build disciples who know that they know that what the gospel priority is. We want to build an entire parish on this gospel priority, this mission, missionary disciples. And Pope Francis says in that document, he like opens the document with this, talking about personal encounter with Jesus Christ. He says this, "I invite all Christians everywhere at this very moment to a renewed personal encounter with Jesus Christ, or at least an openness to letting him encounter them. I ask all of you to do this unfailingly each day. No one should think that this invitation is not meant for him and her. The gospel priority is that everyone deserves a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. And if we just teach religion here at this parish, but we never offer an encounter with Jesus, I think we're doing everyone that we serve a disservice. Because everyone that comes to this parish, all of us, deserve a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. A life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. The gospel priority, this gospel priority, will not only transform our lives, it continues to transform our lives, it will transform your classrooms, it will transform RCIA, it will transform our parish. Because as we begin focusing on this gospel priority, it will change our culture. If it's don't ask, don't tell, it turns into ask and tell, it will transform our parish. So that's our priority. Everyone deserves a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. We can't just keep doing the same thing. How's everyone doing? Okay? All right, okay. I don't know what I'd do if you were like, not good. I don't know. I'd probably just, I'd just walk off the stage. Oh my gosh. Okay. Did you guys know, this is just an aside, I just have to tell you this. Did you guys know that they are taking almonds and making butter out of them? Do you guys know about this? Like, yes, raise your hand if you've seen almond butter. It's amazing. Do you like almond butter or not? Yes, all of you should love almond. Almond butter is amazing. Like, I don't know what other ingredient is put in them to turn them into butter. No one knows? Yeah. Is it just oil and almonds? It's amazing. You can put it on anything. I ate an entire vehicle last week. I just like slathered it in almond butter, and I ate it from exhaust to the license plate. It was just great. Almond butter is so good. But here's the thing. I just wanted to tell you this because like we did this recently, and it was so good. If you take a burger, you guys know what burgers are, right? Okay. You guys are like, are you not here? Almond burgers, I know you're just gonna almond butter on a burger. Yes, I know. Some of you are like, some of you are like, but almond butter on burgers is, toast the bun. Look at this. This is gold in a plastic container, right? This is amazing. I don't know why they don't charge more for this. Every time I leave the store with my my shipping crate full of almond butter, I'm like, I can't believe this is what didn't cost more, right? Almond butter is so good. And if you put it on a burger, I know, you're like, maybe not. I don't know. This doesn't sound good. If you toast the bun, lettuce, because we're not savages. Lettuce, onion, tomato, right? Some of you like pickles, but we can talk about that later. We can debate in the back. I don't like the pickle. Okay, fine, Maddie, put the pickle. A little bit of mayonnaise, not a lot, just a little bit of mayonnaise. And on the toasted bun, look at me, everyone, on the toasted bun, a little bit of almond butter, a lot of almond, okay, I'm just gonna be honest, a lot of almond butter. It is amazing. It is amazing. How many of you are interested in trying almond butter on a burger or would at some point? Thank you, Susan. You are the smartest people in the room. I'm not gonna lie, smartest people in the room. Almond butter on a burger is amazing. How many of you agree with me? Raise your hand. Do you agree? How many of you agree? Wow, no one agrees? You guys are... Okay, how many of you agree that almond butter, before I've talked about this, had already agreed that almond butter was good? None of you? Okay, what about almond butter on a burger? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you are interested in trying it? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you are like, heck no, Edmund, I will throw all the almond butter in my house away because you said this? Okay, some of you. I think a lot of times we treat the faith like that. A lot of times we're so excited about almond butter on a burger. We're so excited about Jesus. We're so excited about it. But we only ask people if they agree. We don't ask people if they've encountered Jesus. We tell them, Jesus is just so great, and we have classes, and we have the best resources and the best people, and we're just like in front of people, and we're like, I'm telling you, Jesus is great. He's really good. And maybe people are like, okay. And maybe some people have encountered Jesus. But we're just like, do you agree? Do you agree? And if we don't ask, do you agree? We're like, but do you go to church? And then everyone shows up at church and we're just like, does everyone agree? But it's crazy because we're not asking, have you encountered Jesus? Do you know him? And some of you are like, what is that like? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How do we go from the content to encountering it? And I'm up here talking, getting crazy, trying to do something. I'm up here talking about content, and I'm trying to get you guys to agree. But how does this talk change? How does this talk change? Joe, how does this change the talk for you right now? Is this, this would be a different talk. If I just gave the talk like this, yeah. I think you'd help me through it a little bit better. You'd be really affirming. You'd be nodding, and really you're doing great, right?
I'll be sharing with you also.
Yeah. This is a very different experience right now. And a lot of times, thank you, Joe. Everyone give Joe a round of applause because I just singled him out. A lot of times we treat the faith like that. Jesus is up on the stage, and Father Flynn said some really nice things about Jesus, and I leave church going, I agree. And then I go home and don't do anything. And that's the best of us. That's some of the best of us in the room. I am not the best of us in the room. But there's a lot of times where I go to church or I hear something and I'm like, that was great. Or I say, I agree. I am so excited I agree. And then I go home and do nothing. And none of that matters if we do not encounter Jesus Christ. This is the gospel priority. Everyone deserves a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. No one had to tell me about all almond butter on a burger. I tried it one day, and it changed my life. And some of you are like really scared when we talk about evangelization or talking about Jesus to other people. Some of you are like, I don't know, like I'm not trained. I didn't have to be trained by the almond butter company. I don't even think there is a company, right? Like I didn't have to be trained. I encountered it. It changed my life. It's amazing. And the next time I see someone, I'm like telling them all about it. I told everyone about it. And you know what? The analogy goes really deep because I was persecuted, I will tell you. People were like, what? We're not friends anymore. Like, we don't like you. You're not coming over to our barbecue because you'll soil all the hamburgers, right? Like, people were so mad at me, right? But I didn't need much training. And here's the truth. You will. So the gospel priority, when we talk about the technical word we use in the church is evangelization. It comes from this word of like going out and proclaiming the good news. The good news is you are invited to a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. That's the good news. And once you've encountered it, then you just tell people about it. But here's the thing. When we as a Catholic Church talk about evangelization, we imagine what? Mormons going door to door, knocking on people's doors, saying, do you have some time to talk? That is wrong. Here's the truth. You are evangelizing, period. You are evangelizing. You are evangelizing. Some of you are evangelizing your love for Star Wars. Some of you are evangelizing some political affiliation. Whatever you love, you will evangelize for. The things in your life that you love, you will evangelize people about. That's the truth. You are evangelizing. But what are we evangelizing? When we go to be a catechist, some of you are volunteering. It's so brave what you guys are doing. Like, I want to help other people, and I want to help them know Jesus. And when we go into class, a lot of times we fall into the trap, I do this too, where we talk about what we love. But sometimes what we love to talk about is not the gospel priority. Sometimes what we love to talk about is church history. Or sometimes what we love to talk about is like social justice issues. Like we got to save the poor. Or sometimes what we love to talk about is like, all you kids better come to mass or I am unfriending you on Facebook. Or like whatever the thing is, right? But are we talking about the gospel priority? Is that the thing we love when we're in front of people? Are we talking about our relationship with Jesus? Are we inviting people into Jesus and his life? So what is it? Well, I'll get to that at the end. The gospel priority is that everyone deserves a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. And Sam, if you could come up here. Well, just start coming up here. You know me. Where's my, oh, here we go. How are we doing on time? Oh, wow, we're like ahead of schedule, are we? Oh, wow, okay. So I'm going to talk for an hour. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not true. I'm going to talk for almond. I could talk about almond butter for an hour. Yeah.
Nutella and almond butter together is really good.
Oh, Nutella and almond butter. You heard it here first. Okay, so this was what I wanted you guys all to know is that the gospel priority will transform our parish. It will transform our lives. It will transform our parish. It will also transform our city. Like the gospel priority will radically transform Grapevine. And hold on for a second, Sam. I'll give you the high sign. But the gospel priority will transform anything you do at our church. If you volunteer as a catechist, an usher, a greeter, if you're on the finance council, there is not a single thing at our parish that you could do that wouldn't be transformed by the gospel priority. Brother Solanus Casey was a poor, uneducated monk who stood at the door of a church, but he had the gospel priority, and he transformed people's lives by the way he did this. What? The church? The door? The convent? Okay, the convent. Thank you. He transformed people's lives by doing this. Right? Like, that seems weird. Like, that seems like a hard thing to transform people's lives through. But he did it out of a gospel priority, an invitation to a relationship with God. The gospel priority will transform our parish. Here's what I'm asking all of us to do, and here's what the Pope is asking all of us to do. To renew our personal conviction, our personal commitment, or maybe to make it for the first time, a commitment to a relationship, to an encounter with Jesus Christ, or at least an openness to letting him encounter you. Pope Francis said this, Remember, he said he invites Christians everywhere to a personal encounter. I just want to ask all of us to recommit ourselves to a personal relationship and to open up about it, to open our mouths about it, to recommit ourselves to a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. Today, we're going to talk practicals. We're going to talk method. We're going to talk application. We're going to talk, like schedules and times and dates and stuff. But every year, I feel it's always important to refocus us on this gospel priority and a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. And what does that look like? I mean, some of you might be saying, like, I'm not sure what that looks like. It looks like St. Francis and St. Clare, St. Francis and Clare. Today is the feast day of St. Clare of Assisi. St. Francis, is our patron of our parish, he lived a life. His whole life was centered on the gospel and a relationship with Jesus. And it transformed his life. I mean, he was rich and had nice clothes and gave up everything he had because of the gospel priority of Jesus Christ, an encounter with Jesus Christ. And when he would preach about this, when he would preach this gospel priority of a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ, things happened. And one of the people that this impacted was St. Clare. St. Clare heard the gospel priority of St. Francis proclaiming an invitation to Jesus Christ. And it caused St. Clare to desire the same type of poverty of spirit, poverty of life even, for Jesus Christ. She kind of ran off. She cuts her hair and is given the poor clothes of the Franciscans, and they started a women's order. And through St. Clare, just so much conversion in our church, such a witness of lives changed by the gospel. And I tell you this, St. Francis did some really weird things. He would eat the worst food just because poor people didn't have good food. He would purposefully, he would throw himself in the snow to try to protect himself against unchastity. He would run after and embrace lepers. And I ask you, do people do that because of a really insightful and smart-sounding philosophy? No. Do people do that? I mean, maybe some people do. But would the witness of all of our martyrs giving up their lives for Jesus Christ, they didn't give up their lives for an idea, an ethical choice, a lofty idea, some philosophical framework that just made sense. They gave up their lives, and St. Clare gave up her life because she encountered a person who changed her life. So right now, throughout this retreat, we're going to be giving you an opportunity, and we're all going to be praying for God to give us a deeper relationship with him and a deeper encounter with him, and to renew our commitment to an encounter with Jesus. So right now, we're just gonna go into a time where we're gonna ask Jesus to just come down off the stage and Jesus to come into our hearts. And if you've never, if you're like, man, what is this about? Why did I come to this? Or if there's something stirring in your heart that's like, I want that, Jesus. I want that relationship. I want to walk with you. We're going to have an opportunity right now to just to pray and to ask Jesus for that. So let's begin in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I encourage you maybe to close your eyes, and as we start praying, I want to ask you just to focus on Jesus just coming down and sitting near you, and Jesus being close to you. Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. And Jesus, I thank you for being here in this community. I thank you for gathering all of us together, and I thank you for the way that you're calling us closer to you. You're calling us to this gospel priority. And Jesus, you ask us to make you the Lord of our life. Jesus, please be the Lord of my life. Jesus, please guide me. Jesus, please walk with me. Jesus, lead me. And during this time of prayer, if there's anything you feel like that you need to just lay down, anything that you need to give up or just to make that turn to Jesus, I invite you to just do that in prayer. Jesus, I renounce some of these things. I've been far from you. Jesus, I might have been distracted from you. And today, Jesus, we want to recommit ourselves to you as the Lord of our life, to enter into relationship with you. It says in Scripture, actually it says in the Catechism that Jesus' name is a prayer. Jesus' name brings the presence of Jesus. Maybe right now, if you want to commit yourself to a deeper relationship with Jesus, or maybe you want to recommit that, or maybe for the first time you want to commit that, maybe we could just fill this room with the name of Jesus. We could just say, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Break our culture of silence, Jesus, Jesus. You could just repeat Jesus. Just say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Come, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. A reading from the letter to the Romans. But how are they to call on one in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in one of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone to proclaim him? And how are they to proclaim unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news.